First off, I am not trying to go viral, but this is me explaining how I believe. I'm working on a book to try to go in more in depth about it, but this is literally what I realized, that we are all, well, this whole universe is composed of zeros and ones, period. This is not by mistake. This is literally by design. And if you take a minute just to stop everything that you're doing and just analyze it, you will see the same thing that I've seen since I was a child. I never said anything because things happen to people when they kind of expose a different idea, right? So hypothetically speaking, right, let's just take religion out of this, and I'm explaining God. Without religion, without the religion, understand that I'm going to explain God without religion and how what God's, first let's explain the clear-cut design, right? Let's say, for instance, you as human beings, let's just say, for instance, right, as human beings, right? No, I'm not even gonna go into that. I'm gonna go into the obvious. We are all zeros and ones, right? So, for instance, right, if you look at the structure of an atom, it is a circle. Boom, zero. If you take time out and look at the structure of DNA, how the line goes like this, and then the line goes like that, and then the lines go across, then the lines go across, and lines go across. One. If you look at the structure of the human finger, zeros, bunch of zeros, bunch of zeros. If you look at the bone, oh wait, before we go from there, you got the bunch of zeros, and then the lines across, a one. You look at the human eye, right? It's a bunch of circles. You know what I'm saying? Bunch of circles, 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 circles. And then you close your eyes. Boom, a one. The human head, right? The human neck. You know, imagine, right, if humans didn't have eyebrows. If none of us we all of our hair just dropped off all of our bodies, right? We'd be a bunch of circles and ones, right? Like, you know, our hands would be the little ones. Our hands on our hands would be circles, you know. And then next thing you know, wait, where was I going? Because I get distracted because I'm out here and, you know, people walking around you and stuff like that. You'd be a little nervous, stuff like that. Like I said, I'd be worried about, I know I'd be sounding like I'm crazy, but, you know, okay. So you got zeros, or, you know, yeah, imagine everybody had lost all their hair, right? Every human being on the planet no longer had any hair, right? We be walking around just a bunch of zeros because our eyes are zeros, our mouth is a zero, our palm of our hand is zero. Imagine we didn't even have the lines on our hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would just, like, we didn't have the ones on our fingertips. You know, we had none of these things, right? So we just be a bunch of zeros, right? Bunch of carbon beings walking around, you know, without any uniqueness about us. But you know what happens then? You start putting the little ones on each one of us, right? Our eyebrows are ones. Boom. You know, the palm of our hands are a bunch of ones. You know, the little lines in our hands are a bunch of ones. You know, we're you would not be who you. Imagine if all of us had no eyebrows. How would we communicate with each other? Huh? How would you know how I feel if you couldn't see my eyebrows and my face and my facial hair move differently? Those are the ones. And you know what God is? God is living through each one of us because God is bored. So we are literally one God with another God, with another God, with another God, just sitting there. But matter of fact, let's rewind first back to the zeros and the ones, right? All right. So they got the moon. The moon is a zero, right? Science don't even know how did this thing come about? They have no clue. They're like, what? Well, how is this big moon thing floating in the sky? They don't know what black holes are, zeros. They don't know. They don't know how is this zero in the middle? Like, you know, this all this light going into this zero. How is these ones going into the zero? They don't even know. Again, we're all part of a simulation. All right? And this is how the universe was first originally started, right? This is my theory. Like I said, I don't want to get shot in the face for my theory. But I'm just seeing, and I'm writing a book explaining this more. Like if you look at human hair, right? Human beings are at the top of the food chain. I'm trying to look how long this video goes because I go on a lot of information, but I don't want this video, right? It says you can't upload it because the video's too short or whatever. Like I said, I don't care if I go viral, but I swear I just need somebody to hear what I'm saying to be able to be like, yo, wait a minute. He had a point. Because the human body, all of our bodies are just, a bunch of circles, a bunch of carbon, a bunch of just carbon mushed together. But how does it stick together? A one. I'm getting sick already. I'm getting nervous, Because look at this, right? The only way for something to move, right, from point A to point B, it has to be a circular form, whatever, Our DNA, right, is the only, they don't even know our fingerprints exist. I do. You know why fingerprints exist? Because God wants to keep track of each one of us individually. Our fingerprints are our freaking IP address. I know. Sound crazy, right? Sound crazy. But if somebody in the comment section, if I was to go viral with this video, and someone in the comment section could tell me, how am I wrong? Because check it. We're all, now here's the crazy part. We're all gods, right? So if you take that factor into your brain, right, and say that, all right, wait a minute. What did he say? We're all gods. If we're all gods, then that means that we're all arguing with each other because we are acting like gods. What? We all want to be heard. Like God. God wants to be heard because God is three factors, right? They say, what is the definition of a God, right? God is all-knowing, all-powerful in all things, right? So for God to be all of those three things, that means that we all have those abilities. So each one of us, every living thing has a God capacity in about 1%. So it's God. But if we live too long, we may figure it out. Reincarnation is kind of exists, but it's like this, right? For instance, right? My wife got this. Imagine this is God, right? This fluid right here is God, right? And this is the physical form, right? I'm gonna try to explain it like this, right? And you was to take these two, right? And you was to mix these two together, right? So a little bit of God, a little bit of physical form, right? And then you mix them together, right? And then that drop of water that comes from off of that has a little bit of God, has a little bit of physical form in it. So, but that physical form wouldn't value being God if it kept all of God's attributes. If I kept all of my godliness, then I wouldn't be able to, I'd be bored again. I don't want to be bored. I gotta live through my 0's and 1's throughout the universe. They got the right now back to the moon, right? Now they don't know how the moon exists, right? But the moon is a 0, right? And imagine the distance is the 1. That's why the moon can't, you know what I'm saying? Everything in the universe is always like you got all of these planets rotating around in like this, right? But it's, like our ear, like rotating, I come up with all these other scientific, like, oh, this and that, but no, I just want it to be clear. We are 0's and 1's. My teeth, look, if they were just one bone, like our mouth, the human mouth is the ultimate 0. And you know what's funny? My video's about to end. I got because I know anything more than about 10 minutes, it'll probably do something. So I'm gonna edit this down, whatever, right? But I'm gonna try to edit it down so I can keep it down to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna say this last part real quick, right? So, 0's and 1's is all that we exist for, right? And now here's the deep part, right? Or the not so deep part, maybe. But our freedom is dictated by two parts, right? The first part is like from the time you're born, your free will is dictated by the people that's around you and what and the godliness within that physical form. So the minute you're born, you're being protected and being, make sure that you can survive with other guys. Immediately, you're already so frail. You're a frail little guy coming out, right? But you're acting like you think you're God. You run around. You think the world is yours. You know what I'm saying? That is where a child thinks, because the child just went from being in God into a physical form, into a 0 and a 1. I mean, there's so many. I need smarter people to be able to be able to explain this better than I can. But I literally, all I see over and over again is 0's and 1's, and I'm gonna stop this video now. And that felt good to finally get out, man.